Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do your March the 30th just for today in a meditation. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Hope you're having a beautiful morning. Okay, the title of the meditation is God-centeredness. Gradually, as we become more God-centered than self-centered, our despair turns to hope. Basic text, page 95. What a glorious thing to have hope. Before coming to Narcotics Anonymous, many of us lived lives of utter hopelessness. We believed we were destined to die from our disease. Many members speak of being on a pink cloud their first months in the program. We stopped using, made some friends, and life looks promising. Things are going great. Then reality sets in. Life is still life. We still lose jobs. Our partners still leave us. Friends still die. We still get sick. Abstinence is no guarantee that life will always go our way. When the reality of life on its own terms sets in, we turn to our higher power and remember that life happens the way life happens. But no matter what occurs in our recovery, we need not despair, for there is always hope. That hope lies in our relationship with our higher power. This relationship, as expressed by the thought in our text, develops over time. Gradually, we become more God-centered. As we rely more and more on the strength of our higher power, life's struggles don't have to drag us into the sea of despair. As we focus more on God, we focus less on ourselves. Just for today, I will rely on my higher power. I will accept that regardless of what happens, my higher power will provide me with the resources to live with it. I like that. I do want to reread the just for today affirmation part on the end. It says, I will rely on my higher power. I will accept that regardless of what happens, my higher power will provide me with the resources to live with it. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Wow, this is a beautiful meditation. I appreciate the fact that it addresses that this is not an overnight God-centered training camp. You don't attain a certificate or an achievement award for being less self-centered, right? This is not one of those things. Because people come into the program at different stages. Some people hate God and don't even know why they hate God. The thought of or concept of a power greater than themselves having any input or say or authority over them is offensive to them. They either are secular in some ways, or they just, don't have the knowledge and don't care for the knowledge. They're very, not just self-centered, but self-reliant. And you can always, in your self-will, attain a level of success. I don't know any human being that does not have potential. I don't know anyone, regardless to our intellect. Everyone has potential. And with that being said, because it's so innate to survive and to be successful, there is reasonably quite a bit an individual can accomplish without ever having acknowledged the presence of a higher power or God Himself. It happens all the time. There's many people that only pray the foxhole prayers. I know few secular individuals that when they get in a lurch, when it gets down to life and death, don't cry out to a higher power, whoever, whatever that may be. Oftentimes, the resistance to God-centeredness is the word God, in my opinion. But for me, even when I got to the program, I was a hot mess. Spiritually speaking, I was a hot mess. I had studied so many different faiths out of curiosity, out of a desire to prove a particular religion wrong. And that motive, that self-centered, egotistical, prideful motive, landed me on my face. I came crawling into Narcotics Anonymous. Crawling. My first spiritual awakening in Narcotics Anonymous took place at the World Convention at Chicago's hotels for the World Convention, in 1993. And I was flat on my face crying because I had gotten so stuck on the word God and not spirituality. So I want to reach out to you today, and I just want to say that gradually we become more God-centered. See, here's the thing. It's in all of us. If you get cut and you bleed red, it's in all of us. The oxygen that is carried in our blood cells to our body, to our brains, is an indicator that we're more similar than we're dissimilar or unsimilar, right? And that spirit, that energy of life, that life-giving force, that blood that runs through our veins, that allows us to have all these internal organs that work, an air pump on both sides of our chest. Whether I am ready to acknowledge the God word, to acknowledge a higher power, it's not that it's irrelevant, but it doesn't change the fact that there is a center within me that is connected to a higher power. It doesn't deny that. Just because I choose not to acknowledge it doesn't mean the presence is not there. As long as I have breath in my body, I'm hoping you're hearing my heart. As long as I have breath in my body, there is the presence of a higher power because I didn't create it. I didn't make it. Procreation requires two people, a male and a female, granted, in most situations. But even the capability to reproduce is not my own. I can't take the credit for this form, this physical form that I'm in. And the thing about the power that created the form that I'm in, all of the details about being a human being, doesn't need my acknowledgement to be the creator, the higher power, or God. Whatever term you use for your higher power, it really doesn't even matter. That's why when I come to Narcotics Anonymous, I have a right to a higher power, a God of my own understanding. But believe this, if you don't understand anything else, my understanding of that higher power is only to suit me. It's only to help me. It's for me so that I can get up over the hurdles in life, so that I can have faith that I too can do it, so that I can believe that I was created to thrive. That's where having a God of your own understanding is beneficial. But your understanding doesn't change the dynamics of God. It doesn't change the higher power's presence in me or anyone else. What I call it only benefits me. It doesn't change its existence within me. I'm more dependent on what was created within me to thrive that I can never, as long as I have breath in my body, I can never be able to deny the presence of God, regardless to what I believe. I'm breathing. I am benefiting from a higher power's will, quite frankly, without asking for it. So whether I acknowledge it or not, I'm still dependent. I still am God-centered. That's why when we read the other meditation said that our own true will, right? God's will becomes our own true will. It's a process. It's a process, family. It's not something that I come in here and I grasp that. No, because I've had another higher power. Actually, the basic text calls it a lower destructive power. And it was deeply spiritual in nature. Why do you think they call alcohol spirits? Right? Liquor is called spirits. But that's not the only thing that has a spirit connected to it. Anytime I put something in my body to transform my perception of reality, mind and mood altering, recreational or otherwise, I have to say that Because people that have prescriptions and they flip scripts, you're playing a very dangerous game with your spirituality. The doctor knows what you need and just how much. That's why they have a doctorate in the field of medicine. So when I'm supposed to take one twice a day and I decide to take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 once a day, playing doctor, I have used, right? Whether I want to call it that or not, because it's so low on the totem pole of drug abuse, that's what I've done. And when I put that in my system in that way, all bets are off. The trigger is already being pulled. So when I alter my mental state intentionally, I have begun to switch powers. I'm leaning into the lower destructive power and its will, and not a higher powers, divine, creative, loving, caring will for me. Now, I know this has gone on a bit long, but I said a very deep prayer before the podcast because oftentimes I wake up, I get my coffee started, I do whatever I need to do, and then I just go into the podcast. But a lot of times, if I'm being honest, the only prayer that is uttered before I start, not even before I start, is the one I utter when I take a moment of silence. But today I decided to do something different because yesterday's podcast deeply affected me. For some reason, when I spoke about doing what I'm created to do, I had a sense of not just awe, but there was another sense of grieving, having been able to complete a whole year nonstop creating content was way beyond any strength of my own. And when I talked about it yesterday, I said, I need to acknowledge God's will for this podcast and bring more excellence. Hear what I'm saying, not perfection, more excellence to it. And I don't want to start any more podcasts without having a private time with my higher power. I'm hoping that none of you are offended by what I'm saying, because at the end of the day, you hit pause or you don't come to the channel or you can disregard, but that's not the intent, to offend. So I hope you come back, and I hope that you are a person that relies on your higher power and that you are able to accept that regardless of whatever happens in your life, that your higher power will provide you with the resources to live with it. I hope you're that person. But just in case you're not, I have come to tell you today that this statement on page 95, gradually, as we become God-centered, more God-centered than self-centered, our despair turns to hope. You clearly have hope because you're here today. But if you're not where you want to be, or you find yourself slipping more into self-centeredness, you might want to take a look at the development of your relationship with your higher power, whatever that is. Because to have something be so much a part of your very existence, and not be able to acknowledge it will change the dynamic of the flow of peace. Because there has to be a level of responsibility and accountability in our newfound lives. I need to be honest, and I need to be able to acknowledge that all of what gets done is not of my own strength. I don't want to be dismissive of the power that allows me to go higher, right? That assists me, that helps me. I'm not going to disregard that. And I don't think any human being should. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. And shortly I will be doing the other meditation. And I hope you've enjoyed listening today. I think you're amazing. I think you're wonderful. I think you're awesome. And I think you're worth it. Have a beautiful day on purpose.